Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Subscription Scaled. I'm your host, Nick Frederick. With me today is Brett Norton, who is the founder of Ultimate Travel Club. Brett, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, great to have you. Well, let's start with Ultimate Travel Club, the business itself. So obviously travel related, and you've got club there in the name. But we are in 2022 now, and you are the founder of a travel club, which has of course been very much impacted by the pandemic. So give us a little bit of background on, of course, the business itself, and why you think now is a good time to start a travel club.
Well, we're a very young business, so we launched on the back of the pandemic, and it's something that we've been looking at
Right.
for many years now. So we've got a very
Okay.
good leadership team board that we've pulled together over the last 2 or 3 years. And my background is in travel, and some of the other founders equally in travel and marketing. And we basically recognise that certainly from the UK perspective, that there's a different way of being able to book travel for the future, and there's a new market available to allow consumers to get the best value in travel. And it was before the pandemic started, actually, that we were about to launch this business. Unfortunately, we didn't, but we've taken the time to really re-engineer a little bit of what we're doing, build the right
Okay.
platform and team. And for us, a subscription-based model was where we believe the future of travel is heading.
Okay. Well, tell us the specifics of the model because travel clubs aren't entirely new, right? There's certainly been clubs around for a while, and a lot of them have ended up being discount clubs, right? Maybe you pay a fee and get access to some discounted travel, but tell us about your model and what's different about it.
Well, true. Travel clubs have been around for a while and different guises, and I think certainly the North American market are probably a little bit further advanced with the use of travel clubs, and it's certainly travel clubs in the UK is not something as prolific as probably what you're used to seeing. Our difference really is that we believe that the value exchange is for consumers, it needs to be a little bit different, and therefore consumers should be able to get the broadest access to the broadest possible range of travel at cost price. And most of the travel clubs previously have been very much about maybe specific markets, specific product, or basically just helping
Sure.
suppliers shift distressed inventory. So there's a way you've got the sort of the group buying sites where you've got access to certain hotels at certain nights of the week. That brings in a lot of sort of restriction for consumers, and so our model is very different. We believe that sort of consumers should be able to have access to the broadest possible range of travel at cost price, and by not charging a markup and using the
Okay.
subscription element of that to offset and cover all the operating overheads is the big part that's different to our model.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty different model from what I think most at least North American buyers are familiar with, because usually those travel clubs give you access to an agent or an online portal where you can go
Mm-hmm.
and see everything. A lot of that's been commoditized, but there was always this still paying, markup, or they were getting a commission back or something like that. So a model that gives you access to, the best possible price because you're getting it at cost is pretty different. Is that brand new, that concept brand new to the UK market? And are you planning on expanding outside of that?
Well, we believe it's brand new. There are, I guess, some other operators out there. So we're pleased to see some of the big branded travel businesses starting to think about this type of model. So Tripadvisor last year announced that they were bringing out Tripadvisor Plus, which is a proposition which allows their subscribers to get access to discounts on certain hotels. We know that for a long time there's been
Okay.
sort of a Podo who have been offering their flight club, which is a similar kind of model, and they're just expanding that now into the broader range of travel. But generally across the board, this is a a new category, a new proposition for the travel world, and it's something that I think, as consumers start to realise how much markup there is in travel, particularly the final mile in terms of the retail, the relationship between supplier and retailer, then I think consumers will start to realise that actually 20-30% of what they're paying doesn't actually make its way through to the final supplier. It can give them a significant saving.
Wow, that is probably surprising to most. I think we've probably seen a lot of the suppliers themselves trying to go where they have relied on agents and a distribution model for decades, are trying to go in a lot of cases direct to consumer now, right? They want you to
Mm-hmm.
come to their website and guaranteeing the best possible price there, which is good and bad for consumers, right? Because yeah, maybe they can go directly to the supplier, but now they have to go to every one of the suppliers in order to figure out, am I getting the best deal possible? So how do you see that playing out, and where do you guys fit into that?
Well, you're right. Particularly hotel groups have been very much sort of focused on trying to drive direct business, and you're right. I think in terms of consumers, if you've got a relationship with a hotel, it's probably the right decision for you to book directly. But in terms of choice and being able to aggregate a market quite quickly, then there'll always be, I think, a need for some sort of middleware, whether or not that's a booking provider or a travel agent. We see ourselves as being the best of both, really. So from a supplier's point of view, we're giving our members access to rates that suppliers and hotels have already got. So we're not discounting those any further. We're providing transparency, so we're allowing members to book at those trade prices. And for our members, we're being able to give them the best, widest possible choice. When it comes to talking to individual suppliers, particularly as we come out of the pandemic, they all have the same problem, which is filling airline seats, filling cruise cabins, or filling hotel beds. And we believe that we can help suppliers to be able to fill those cabins, those rooms, those seats without them having to cannibalise their existing business, without them having to drop their retail pricing, and we can offer them a safe haven for being able to offer our members access to rates that would not ordinarily be able to open on the open market. And it's a win-win scenario for suppliers and also for our members. But the big point to all of this, which is, I think, probably something that would suit your listeners, is the fact that the subscription model is what allows us to facilitate this in a number of ways. The subscription model means that we get that lovely reoccurring income. We hopefully connect that stickiness with our members, and therefore both the stickiness and also the reoccurring income helps to cover our operating overheads. It helps us to negotiate with suppliers on behalf of our and talk on behalf of our group of members. But from a supplier's point of view, they're also equally happy, because what they don't want to see is they don't want to see discounted pricing leaking out into an open environment, and they want to see things behind a closed firewall. And so again, we have that sort of win-win scenario whereby we can offer our members something unique, and our suppliers are comfortable that it's not going to leak into an environment that may cannibalise direct business.
So I'm interested. You've named the business Travel Club, and the concept of clubs used to be very, very popular. Shopping clubs and things like that, especially before the proliferation of the internet. And then you had all of these direct sites and discount sites that popped up, and so they kind of went by the side. I think back in the day, the concept of a club was members viewed themselves as truly being part of a club, right? It's like people coming together in order to get a buy rate or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
in what it seems like in what you're describing here, it's trying to do exactly that. It's getting travelers together to say, hey, we'll be a part of this organization. We'll pay this monthly fee so that we can get access to pricing that's not out there on the internet, that has been pre-negotiated, that really, differentiates us from the average traveler who's just going out to, Expedia, Tripadvisor, or some other site like that, right? Is that a good way to think about it?
Absolutely, and I think club. There's a lot of psychology that goes alongside that. So club, yet people want to feel part of something.
Yeah.
They also want to feel valued. They want to
Yep.
feel listened to. They also want to feel as if personalisation. They're sharing a proportion of their information with us, their interests, which means that we can be hyper targeted, hyper personalised in what we're doing, and people's travel requirements are very, very different. And I always see ourselves as being effectively a broad church, insofar as long as you enjoy travel and travel semi-frequently, it doesn't matter if you're looking for 3-star or 5-star, if you're looking for a weekend or you're looking for a 2-week vacation, there's something for you within the club. And that's an important part to what we do, and I think it's also an important part to also coming back to this magic subscription word, because all research points to the view that when people pay for something, they want to get value from it, and there's probably
Right.
been quite a lot of conversations around, for example, the Amazon Prime model. And no doubt you've
Mhm.
discussed that at great length previously, but the Amazon Prime model is a good example for us of how it becomes your first point of call. You want to get value from your Prime membership, and therefore you will use it for a bigger proportion of
Yep.
your shopping. And if you give somebody a free membership, it's something that perhaps just drifts away and they forget about. But if you can make it relevant, and they're paying for something, they want to get value from it, and that's important for us, because whilst we don't make a penny on selling travel, being able to offer our members a broad range of options, whether or not it's a 1-night trip for work, whether or not it's a weekend trip with your family, or whether or not it's a 2-week summer vacation. We want our members to view the club as being the first port of call that they can go to research their travel. We have not only is it an online solution, we also have a call centre of travel advisors who are available to provide advice, give assurance, and what's also quite important as we come out of this pandemic is that people want to talk to get advice, understand a little bit more about the requirements of different countries, and the subscription element of that allows us to be able to offer and to operate that environment and staff up accordingly based on the size of our membership, to be able to offer that to our members before they even start thinking about booking a trip.
I like the way you were describing it there, and I think you know even outside of travel, there's a lot of opportunity out there to create or enhance value, because customers, when to your point, when they are paying for something, want to get as much value out of it as they can, right? If they're going to make that investment, they want to extract it. And of course, Prime is the best example of that, where I'm paying that annual fee. I'm gonna watch Prime Video. I'm gonna, gladly buy something on Amazon.com and have it shipped to me, or take advantage of others. So they created this whole ecosystem and tied a payment to it that made it very easy for you to transact with them. And there's a lot of psychology that goes behind that. And retail is transactional, right? I might interact with you now, but I don't have a whole lot of incentive really to come back and do it with you the second time, outside of the traditional loyalty programs and things like that. So these clubs and that concept puts you in a unique group. I agree. I think consumers want to get as much value out of it as they can, especially when they're paying for it.
No, absolutely, and I think travel is one of those categories where consumers do like to shop around, particularly with different requirements. As I said before, between a 1-night hotel stay versus a city break versus a cruise versus a 2-week beach vacation. Quite often, they will use different providers to facilitate each of those different trips, and hopefully through our club, we can tick off all of the main requirements that travellers are looking for these days. Broadest range of choice, greatest amount of flexibility. Certainly here in the UK, we have booking protection, so we have at all an apt to protection when it comes to packaging, and ring fencing all of that together. If we can sort of provide the price assurance guarantee, then there's no reason why people should have to think about, and of course underpinned by great customer service, and being part of that club mentality, there's no reason why people should have to go elsewhere to book.
Yeah. I'd like to ask you about the community that you're creating around the club itself. Obviously, the main value proposition they're coming in with is access to, the best price on travel. But what other things are you guys doing to kind of bring your club of members together and create community? Is that allowing them to interact with each other, creation of, I don't know, Facebook groups and things like that? But a lot of the founders that I've had on the show, one common theme from I've seen among a lot of the successful ones is that they're taking what they're offering, and there's lots of competition for it. But one big differentiator is really to create the community around whatever that product or service is. And I think that's one big way to differentiate from Amazon, right? You can do subscribe and save for just about any product is out there, but Amazon's not trying to create, a community around razors, right? But Dollar Shave Club can, and a lot of these good brands are doing that. So what are you guys doing there to really bring your members together, make them feel like they're a part of a community?
Well, for us at the moment, we're looking at how we can bring more a virtual community together, so a physical community rather than a virtual community. So there are plenty of other kind of forums and different platforms out there for sharing advice. And for us, certainly, we're probably not going to go down that route actually. But what we are going to look to do is to try and create a community of physical opportunities, so that can manifest itself in a number of different ways. So we will be looking to do trips, so group trips, both domestically and internationally, where we will look to host a series of pinnacle events each year, whether or not that's part chartering a cruise or putting on events to Motor Grand Prix or sporting events around the world. Very much around that will become part of our sort of community and bringing sort of live events and travel together for our community of subscribers. But we all already have, in terms of general sort of sharing of information, we all already have a number of sort of travel tips and sort of destinations of where members recommend, that we're using that to be able to power sort of messaging and content between our members, but done in a way that's highly curated and managed by us, without us having to manage sort of forums and other sort of online communities 24/7, which brings out typically bring out their own other challenges for operations.
It seems to me that that's one way to certainly differentiate your club from, call it Tripadvisor or Yelp or those other sites that are out there, where there are people posting review. I say people, that's a loose term, because those could be burner accounts, those could be vendor accounts, and they're all notorious for that, right? Not having the most reliable reviews, but you having a paying member community, I would think that the reliability of those reviews and that the aggregate scores that they're giving different services, sites or trips or whatever is going to carry a lot more weight than what I go out and see on a Yelp when I look at some of the reviews and think that sure seems like it might have been written by the hotel. I would think that that's something that's pretty different about your community.
Yes, and hopefully over time, once we do build a bigger community, there will be ways of which our members can interact with each other, in terms of, if you've been to this property before or booked this property before, can I reach out and as a fellow member, get your advice, get your hints and your tips. That levels of sort of first degree of contact and assurance. And also from an aggregated point of view, if a member through data and aggregated information, if a member's booked this property, they're more likely to like this property in a certain country, because we know that they've got similar kind of previous booking characteristics. And using that data in an AI capacity in real time, will help to improve some of the recommendations for helping members try and explore new travel opportunities.
So, talk about a little bit about where the business is at in terms of its life cycle right now. You were saying before that you started this during the pandemic, and I'm sure that's been challenging. And there's been some pivots along the way that I'm sure you've had to done. Would love to know what some of those are that you've had to do. But are you seeing consumers getting back to travel, maybe starting to dip their toes back into it, and therefore you are actively trying to ramp up the membership, or are you waiting for maybe some of these waves to pass before you get aggressively into marketing? Let's talk about a little bit about where you're at in terms of the business.
Sure, I would say that we were best described as being in sort of post launch pilot phase at this moment in time. So we've built the technology, we've tested the technology, and we've done some very very early piloting at the end of last year, where we've brought on our first wave of members. 2022 for us is all about going from pilot to scale up, and there's not necessarily from an operational and a technical perspective, but in terms of member acquisition, it is a big aspect for our sort of focus over the next 6 months. And we're piloting a range of different acquisition methods, but of course, as you quite point out, now is a very challenging time because you're not sort of testing like for like in a stable environment. So we launch a campaign, and then obviously changes do come along with regards to restrictions and so forth, which makes it not necessarily straightforward. But I think we're already getting quite a lot of good learnings around channels, around messaging, and that's going to play a big part to the investment money that we've currently got this next 6 months to really fully flush out all of our channels to market and use that data and insight for our real scale up, which will probably start in Q4 of 2022.
Okay. Do you see paid search as being your primary channel? Are you exploring alternative channels? We're hearing things like influencer marketing and things like that. I don't know how well that may or may not work for the travel industry, but what are you guys looking at?
I think all the channels that you talk about there are highly relevant to our approach, but we believe that we've got our model has a B2B, B2C, and B2B2C route to market, and we model different scenarios. But I think actually a smaller proportion of our membership will probably come from direct retail sales. We're already in advanced conversations with a number of partners around taking our platform to their subscriber database, which will help us to grow and scale quickly. And also from a corporate B2B perspective, the UK market, 40% is what we would call managed, where global corporate organisations have got relationships with travel management companies, but 60% is unmanaged, and they're typically working for SME businesses and travel frequently, both for work and for personal arrangements. And we believe that this product, the subscription product, is ideal for the B2B market as well. So we've got a very broad sort of channels, both and obviously sub markets within each of those channels, which we're testing now. So to your point, yes, in terms of marketing per se, all those channels are in play at this moment in time. But I think we'll probably play more of a focus on direct sales through B2B, B2C to scale this business in a kind of quicker way than pure play retail would do.
Want to dive into that a little bit because I think it's often misunderstood or underappreciated, at least those three channels you just talked about there, how different they actually are. I mean, B2B is of course its own animal, trying to work directly with corporations. Those are, tougher to sell, but once you do, can of course be very, very lucrative. And of course, then there's retail, which tends to be very expensive marketing from a customer acquisition cost perspective. But again, you have the most control there being direct to consumer. But the one I want to dive into a little bit is, what you call B2B to C, or, affiliate type marketing. Again, I think from a subscription perspective was one of the most untapped ways to market across the spectrum, but relying on a partner or working with a partner to market to their database of customers, or at least prospects. And really, it truly is partnering together. It's called affiliate marketing for a reason. Do you see that as one of the bigger opportunities, or is it for you something that you're going to kind of give an equal amount of focus on, compared to the other ones?
No, I would share your view. I think in terms of B2B to C is probably untapped for a lot of industry segments, and I think from our perspective, our margins in the subscription model allows us to be fairly generous in terms of how we pay our partners. So whether or not that's that's a pure commission approach, or whether or not it's a more integrated revenue share model,
Okay.
and allowing different partners to optimize that depending on their requirements, and to leverage their databases in different ways. Certainly through the technology now exists to be able to fully track that, and to be able to manage different campaigns through different channels. And so I think certainly, as you pointed out before, retail is if you build the brand and you've got deep pockets, then you can generate some good returns from it. But certainly from a startup point of view, and also from where we're at this moment in time, then I think B2B to C is going to take probably the lion's share of our focus and our resource. Certainly in the next 6 months. We're not going to forget retail. All the piloting that we're doing at the moment is focused on understanding what each of those channels can deliver through small discrete budgets in each of those. Not necessarily the budgets are not there to kind of significantly grow our database, but our budgets are there to truly understand the cost of acquisition by channel. So we can start to understand the order in which, and the order of where we put our time and effort. And that I talked earlier on in the session around Q4 this year is probably where we'll scale, and we'll take on some further investment to really grow. And it's for that particular reason that we're using this next 6 months to test these channels, understand the cost of acquisition, and so therefore, when we do take on the investment, we've got proof to support how we're going to spend the funds. But also quite often, quite a lot of the marketing channels, require brand building alongside it. You can't work in some channels on a business perspective without building the brand. So we're very aware of that, and we're kind of sequencing the activities that we do to try and build brand and build fame through the channels first, before we then start investing heavily in the retail approach.
Yeah. Well, that's the very smart approach. Use data, start with the smaller set, learn from it, and continue to tweak along the way. I'm curious your thoughts on, if you're targeting Q4 for the big launch, how much do you think the wave of the pandemic, and of course we're dealing with Omicron right now, and don't know really what's going to happen next. Are you prepared for being able to bring that in if things go really, really well, or push it out, or you're going to stick with that plan?
We're a relatively small and nimble team, so that means that we're highly dynamic in decision making, and we can therefore change the laydown of our plan accordingly. And that's certainly something that we've learned quite quickly over the last sort of 6 months, that you need to be adapt at sort of changing requirements. So I think sort of Q4 at the moment would probably be the earliest. I think in terms of pushing it back, it all depends on where we're at with each of the different the channels and the requirement for further funds. The subscription model talked before about is good margins in that if done correctly, and therefore each subscriber that comes on board can help us to reinvest that money into bringing new subscribers into the business. So Not all of our investment money is needed just to be able to grow. We can grow organically without bringing on investment money. If we do, it's the investment money will be there to help us scale and to take market share quicker. But when it comes to the actual timing of everything, then I think certainly a lot of it will depend on not just what's happening here in the UK market, but unfortunately kind of what's happening in destinations around the world, because travel is one of those beautiful products that is difficult to control, but right. Requires 160 countries to be sort of firing on semi all cylinders to be able to offer a full program of destinations. But we're also quite encouraged by the usage in the early stages of the business that domestic travel is still as busy as it has been from a leisure perspective. In fact, more so sort of summer 2021. And the benefits that members can get from subscribing to the travel club are equally relevant domestically. So I don't think maybe our messaging, our creative, and certainly some of the destinations that we talk about may be tweaked depending on the global sort of state of the pandemic. But the benefits for joining the travel club certainly, you can quite easily cover your membership and subscription costs in just one trip to London, for example. So it doesn't, for our business to be successful, doesn't actually require the borders to be open. It just makes it sort of a little bit more interesting if it was.
Sure. Turning to the conversion, all of these marketing efforts, bringing customers to your site or app or wherever they might be enrolling, what are you guys doing to help finish the last mile there, get that customer to convert? Are you playing with different payment methods, different price points, different billing frequencies? Are you trying them all and really gathering data right now to decide what's most palatable to consumers? What are you testing there?
Good question. So I think yes we are. So there's a debate about subscription model. What's the frequency of billing cycles? So is it monthly, or do you even move to annual subscriptions? And within there, what different product price tiers do you make available? And we've had sort of from launch, we've had plans to be able to have multiple tiers of subscription, and we very much focused around monthly payments in our original thinking.
Okay.
But you mentioned before about how flexible are you as a team, and we've had to be flexible with where we find ourselves in the stage of the pandemic. And what we're finding at the moment through testing is that actually, annual memberships fully prepaid up front is what people are interested in subscribing to. Partly because
Okay.
they can see the benefit and the value, and what they probably don't want to see at the moment is £19 or £29 coming out of their account each month when they can't travel. And so in terms of that friction, I think what we've learned at the moment is actually for us, from a stickiness point of view, from a cash flow point of view, where we've leveraged and we've put more of our focus into the fully prepaid annual plans, which has proved for us to be a little bit more successful. But we very much see that the business is actually built around a monthly payment plan. And I think once we start to go back to frequency of travel, then I think that's probably the plan that will be used to kind of drive us out of the pandemic later this year. When it comes to,
Do you feel like you have meaningful data around renewals at this point for those annual memberships when it comes to the next cycle?
No, we don't. We're not sort of far enough into the business for annual. But in terms of monthly, we've we're kind of we're quite a few months now into reoccurring monthly payments being made, and we've got a very good sort of stickiness rate on those. But as you say, we're not in a kind of a stable like for like environment at the moment. And we're kind of
Yeah,
working through different opportunities for us and for our members when it comes to the product proposition. So we've, in terms of clarity of messaging, in terms of simplicity of our offer, clearly we're a kind of a new category in an industry, and we want to try and make things as simple for consumers to understand. So we have stripped back a little bit of complexity when it comes to pricing tiers, membership tiers, and at the moment we're kind of offering one general membership, but we have plans to be able to offer a differentiated membership tiers, some geared towards different markets. For example, corporate tier with benefits kind of more molded towards corporate usage. But where we sit today,
yep,
we've just stripped things back, which allows, certainly from a testing point of view, if we're testing multiple channels, different campaigns, to then start having, different products to test against. I think there's just too many variables at this moment in time.
yeah. I'm also curious about payment methods. I mean, the U.S. and the U.K. are a little different, but actually very much alike at the same time. Credit cards, of course, the dominant online payment method here with ACH right behind it. Are you guys offering both credit card and direct debit, or are you exploring wallets and things like that? And are you seeing an uptick there?
So credit cards and debits are basically our kind of two main payment options at the moment.
Okay.
We've not
Yep.
explored other sort of forms of payment just yet. Clearly, our B2B proposition has got straightforward invoicing as a kind of a traditional
Sure.
offline payment method. But other than that, those
Right.
are the two main sort of methods that we're using at the moment.
Cool. Well, you shared a little bit about, of course, your ramp up towards the end of this year, but any other um, big plans, I guess, for the next year or two? Or you said you have a nimble team and are flexible and can make decisions on the fly. Is it let's see how the pandemic goes and how the travel industry comes back in general, and we'll continue to pivot.
Absolutely, I think the 2022 for us is all about becoming stable in the UK market, growing the membership,
Yeah,
and like any subscription based business, it's all realistically about scale, and taking a greater level of market share. And so it's watching those subscriber numbers and building the subscriber base this year. We have different opportunities in the pipeline in terms of potentially taking this into different markets, potentially broadening out some of the benefits and offers to members. But in some respects, a lot of it just builds on one program, builds on another program, insofar as you build this decent membership subscriber base, the opportunities for doing different benefits with suppliers becomes a little bit more in focus. Creating more experiential events, live events, trips. The bigger the database, the more segmentation you can do, the more personalisation you can do. Just layers on more and more opportunities of what we can do, which I think will be, kind of plans for later down the road. But for where we're at this moment in time, that's our main focus for this year.
well, Brett, really enjoyed the conversation today. I've learned a lot, and it's fun to hear about kind of the state of the travel industry and where things are headed. I guess number one, if any guests have question about anything that we've talked about today or want to learn more, how can they get in contact with you? And then tell us, of course, where listeners could go to find out more about Ultimate Travel Club.
Absolutely. So we have a website, ultimatetravelclub.com, which is
Yeah,
available. We also have an app for members, which you can download from both the Google Android and the App Store. And if anyone's got any questions from a business perspective, then just drop me an email through the contact us form on the website, and happy to reach out and engage with any of your listeners.
awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks again so much for coming on today, late afternoon there in the UK. Again, really enjoyed it, and best of luck. And I really hope that I think everybody hopes that we get over this latest wave quickly and can get back to a little bit more travel. I know I'd love to.
I think everybody you talk to, it's the one thing that they want to do, and for various reasons they probably
Yeah.
can't at this moment in time. But I think in most countries, I think some restrictions are starting to come back. From being in pure lockdown and being able to go out and meet friends and go to restaurants, and all of that's now kind of generally coming back in most markets. But the one thing that most people still are hesitant or can't do for various different reasons, and that's travel. And I think certainly this year and into next year, we should hopefully start to see that market really become much more active. And but thank you very much for having me today. And fast forward 12, 18 months, it would be great to come back and give you an update on
Yeah.
how we've gone from startup to scale up.
That'd be that that'd be great. Let's all hope it's a really good story.
Thank you very much, Nick.
All right, thanks, Brett.